Hey everyone, this objective is all about solving a one-variable linear inequality with the variable on one side. Before we get into these types of problems, here we're going to talk about what an inequality actually is. So here we're looking at x is less than 0. Well, if this is 0 on the number line, x could be equal to many different things. It could be equal to all of these numbers going to the left. In fact, x could be equal to anything less than 0 going all the way to negative infinity. So with this section here, we're not just solving for one x value, we're solving for multiple x values. We're solving for a bunch of x values. So let's just jump into it. Let's get into the very first problem. We're looking to figure out what x is equal to, and so basically we want to solve for x. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of the parentheses by multiplying that negative 5. So we have a negative 5 times 20x, which gives us a negative 100x, and then we have negative 5 times 4, which is negative 20. This is all less than negative 100. Now what we want to do here is we want to solve for x. And so we want to get the term that has the x all by itself. We want to get that negative 100x all by itself to start. And so what we're going to do to start is do the opposite operation of what's happening to the negative 100x. We have a minus 20 here, so we're going to do the opposite of subtract 20, which is add 20 to both sides. And that is going to give us minus 100x all by itself on the left of the inequality. Now we have negative 100 plus 20. If you borrowed $100 from me, paid me back 20, I'd say you owe me $80 still. So what we want to do is we want to solve for x. We want to get x all by itself. And what's happening to that x? Well, we have a negative 100 multiplying times x. So we want to divide both sides by negative 100. And what that does for us is crosses off these 100s. We have x all by itself, and whenever we multiply or divide on either side of an inequality by a negative, we need to flip the sign. Let me say that again. Whenever we multiply or divide by a negative on either side of an inequality, we need to flip the sign. So we have a negative 80 over a negative 100. So we end up with a positive number here. And I'm going to go ahead and just wipe off these zeros, so we have an 8 over a 10, and we can reduce that. In fact, 8 is 2 times 4, and 10 is 2 times 5. We could cross off the 2's, and that means that x is greater than 4 over 5. X is greater than 4 over 5. Now, it can be written this way, but it can also be written this way as well. So if you saw either one of these two solutions, they would be correct. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so a similar type of problem. We need to start this one off by distributing the 8, getting rid of the parentheses, and now we have a negative 29 is greater than 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times negative x is a negative 8x, and then we have a plus x right next to that. Now, we want to solve for x, but before we can solve for x, we have to get the terms that have x as 1. We want to combine like terms. And so we have a minus 8x plus 1x, which gives us a minus 7x. These two terms both have an x, and so we combine them. Alright, so from here, this is a matter of solving for that negative 7x right now. We want to get that 7x all by itself. And so we're going to get rid of that 48 by subtracting it. to both sides. We subtract 48 to both sides, and that cancels. Plus 48 minus 48 cancels, and we have a minus 29 minus 48. If you borrowed $29 and then borrowed $48 from me, I would say that you owe me a total of $77. Alright, so one last step. Divide both sides by a -7. And what happens when we divide by a negative or multiply by a negative on either side of an inequality? We flip the sign. So we have a -77 over a -7, which is a positive 11. And that means that x is greater than positive 11. Any x value that we plug in greater than 11 will be true for this inequality. Now remember that you could flip this around. You could flip it this way and it would still be true. Okay, let's move to the next one. This one here, we don't have to worry about distribution. We don't have to worry about the parentheses. We do, however, have to worry about like terms. We have to start this off by combining like terms on the right-hand side of the inequality. We have a plus 2x and we have a plus 4x. And we also, on the right side, have a minus 2 and a minus 5. We want to combine our like terms. Now, you don't have to do this, but some people like to write the like terms right next to each other. And the better you get at solving equations, the more you're going to find that you don't have to do that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and combine our like terms. We have a 2x and a 4x, which makes a 6x. We have a minus 2 minus 7. That's a minus 9. Okay, so we want to get that 6x all by itself. And so we're going to add 9 to both sides, which will cancel. A minus 9 plus 9 cancels. We're left with a 6x all by itself. And a minus 22 plus 9. Well, if you were to borrow $22 from me and pay me back 9, what would you owe me? Give up? Okay. You would owe me $13. Alright. Divide both sides by 6. 6 over 6 crosses off, and we have x is less than negative 13 over 6. Once again, we could rewrite this the other way, and it means the same exact thing. They're both true. Okay. Next one, same idea. We have like terms on the left side. And if I add these like terms, I have a minus 4x minus 7x. That gives me a minus 11x. And I also have a minus 5 plus 4. If you borrow $5, pay me back 4, you still owe me $1. And that's greater than 11. So we want to solve for that 11x there, that negative 11x. So we add 1 to both sides. A minus 1 plus 1 cancels. And we have a minus 11x is greater than 12. And so we divide both sides by a negative 11. Divide both sides by a negative 11. And what that does for us is it flips our inequality. 11 over 11 crosses off. Negative 11 over negative 11 crosses. And we have x is less than 12 over 11. Negative 12 over 11. Once again, you could flip it if you want. And this answer means the same thing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, next one, we're going back to the distribution type of problem where we have a -3 on the outside, and we got to distribute that -3. And so what we have is a 21 is greater than or equal to. The line underneath means or equal to. So we have -3 times a -7 is a positive 21. -3 times 2 is a -6. And what we want to do from here is get that 21x all by itself. And so we're going to go ahead and add 6 to both sides. Adding 6 to both sides gives us a 27 greater than or equal to 21x. Now we want to get that x all by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 21. And that gives us x all by itself, because 21 cross